Thank you so much for making time. Apologies for the delay and for the delay also in sharing the passcode. I think we now have a good number of those who are able to join us. So I will start by introducing myself and introducing the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. But before that, I'd just like a confirmation. Melanie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Thank you, loud and clear. So I will introduce the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. Then it's good that Melanie, we've already had her voice. So we're partnering with DigiPath Africa, who will be taking us through the training for digital marketing for MSMEs. And then we will also have a short Q&A session so that you can be able to raise the questions that you have. Now, my name is Primo Keegan. You can call me Kip. Keegan, any of those names are fine. I lead the policy research and advocacy department at the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. And I can see some of our members are here. I can see some new faces as well. Hopefully you can join us as members of the chamber. So the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce is the longest serving independent voice of the private sector. We advocate on issues that are affecting businesses with the aim of creating an enabling environment in Kenya. We also support trade development. So we conduct a lot of trade missions. We do B2B matchmaking. We also do a lot of trade facilitation. So this is to support our businesses to access new markets and really grow. A huge chunk of our membership is actually MSMEs, businesses that are micro, small and medium enterprises. And this is a reflection of our economy in Kenya, where the majority are also MSMEs. And that's the training for today, where we want to support MSMEs on digital marketing. So we're going to be having series of trainings to support MSMEs on different things. And starting today is obviously digital marketing. So DigiPath is obviously Melanie will introduce DigiPath quite lengthily, but DigiPath is an amazing company. I've had an opportunity to interact with them before, I think since 2020, and they do amazing work in digital marketing. That they are the content experts on that side. So Melanie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Keegan. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Nice to have you here. Apologies for the little mishap, but happy to have you here. My name is Melanie Hapisu Wambogo. I am the founder and CEO of a company called DigiPath Africa. We are basically a digital marketing agency where we work with businesses to help them generate leads. So whether it's driving traffic to your website, whether it's getting people to download your application, with an aim of getting to them having a sale, that's what we do. So we've worked with different brands, both big and small. Especially when we started, we had more of the smaller brands, but have grown through the industry with that. And in addition to executing, we also do trainings like this. So it's an honor to be here. We conduct both free and paid trainings. And I'm looking forward to today's session, where we shall be talking about digital marketing, what it is, what it entails. I'm sure some of us have different definitions to it. We'll talk a bit about some of the things you need to think about, before you put up that post. It's not just about waking up and posting what you feel like, but there's thinking behind it. So we'll talk a bit around that. And of course, what are then the benefits? Many people will tell you digital marketing allows you to reach more people, but how? We'll talk a bit about that. So I'm a very conversational person. So you'll notice that I'll share my screen on and off. I think conversations are quite memorable. So I'm looking forward to the session. Towards the end, we'll have a Q&A. For those who stay till the very end, I have goodies for you. So yeah, please stay till the end. I have something nice for everyone that you can all benefit from. So I think we'll just start off. So many people assume that digital marketing is just posting. But I can tell you, between me and you, it's more than that. There's a lot that is entailed under this umbrella. But a simple way I like to think about digital marketing is simply a type of marketing that happens on a digital platform. And as soon as I'm given access to share my screen, I will share my screen. So Keegan, maybe you can sort that in the background. But when I say marketing on a digital platform, some of these digital platforms could require the internet for them to work. Some don't necessarily require the internet to work. Good examples, the social medias, the emails, and all that require the internet. But when you think of digital billboards, for example, we have a big screen at Archives in CBD. That is a good example of digital marketing, but does not necessarily require the internet for it to work. The TVs you see at fast food stores showing menus, that could be considered an example of digital marketing. The messages you receive from Safaricom telling you about a data bundle offer that they have, that could also be considered an example of digital marketing. So there's a lot that is entailed, but the main thing I want you to take away from that definition is that sometimes these platforms could require the internet for them to work, sometimes not necessarily. So that opens your mind up to seeing a lot more, can I say, potential when it comes to areas that you can use for marketing. So of course, just like any other term, the fact that we're talking about digital marketing, there's a lot that falls under the umbrella. It's not just about posting on social media. Thank you for giving me access to share. So it's not just about posting on social media. There's a lot more. And I'll stay on this slide for a while just to give you a few insights around what exactly we're talking about. So most of the time when people talk about digital marketing, social media is the first thing that comes to mind. What exactly is social media? It's a type of marketing that happens on a social platform. Most of the time, the aim is to get interaction, being a social platform. But as businesses, what have we done? We have flipped that narrative and we've made social media only for sales. We don't care about the social aspect of it. So when we post, yes, we want people to engage, we want people to like, we want people to share, but our biggest goal is for people to buy. Yet when social media was first developed, that was not the goal. So when you look at some of the brands who social media marketing is working for in terms of people are engaging, after engaging, people are then becoming paid customers, you'll realize that then for them, what is happening is people are first engaging with their content and thereafter people are being converted to a sale. Think of social media like a relationship or building a friendship. You know, you don't meet someone today for the first time and automatically become friends. It takes time. So you can't expect to be posting today and automatically today you make a sale. I like to tell business owners, think of your posts as you would see them yourself. If you were the customer, not necessarily for your business, even for another one, there are many reasons as to why you could purchase now, but there are also many reasons as to why you may not necessarily purchase at the moment. Maybe you're broke. People get broke. So let's stop assuming that all our customers are going to buy and they don't get broke. Sometimes someone could see it now and they could just be researching to know the price for them to save 3 months down the line to purchase whatever service or product you have to sell. So when you think of social media marketing, have that somewhere at the back of your mind. It's very important to have that. And I can think of very many brands that, have an interesting way of marketing. Allow me for this session to just show these two visuals that for me are quite important. When I look at them, many things ring in my head. When it comes to social media, based on just what I've said, it's not just about selling, but it's also about interacting. You need to tell a story that people will relate to, that will get them to engage and eventually take them through the customer journey to become a paying client. Sometimes, depending on what you put up, it may not necessarily be for sales. It may be for awareness. It may be for entertainment. It may be just to engage with people and so on and so forth. So if you look at these two posts I have on my screen, the one on the left talks about Umoja. Umoja is basically wishing people a happy Mother's Day. And they say helping moms since 1978. What was this post supposed to do? Just bring some curiosity around helping moms how. So the first thing you'll go to do is look at what Umoja does if you've never heard about them. And you'll realize that truly they are the feet that walk Africa. They do things to do with shoes, so sandals, closed shoes, and all that. Is there a goal of sales there? No. But through research, for those who don't know, you may be curious and realize that, wow, these guys actually are selling something that I'm interested in. On this other side, I have NCBA. If you look at NCBA, they're basically marketing a card. You don't know what card, unless you know what NCBA is, but they're basically marketing a card. So when you look at this card that they're trying to market, they're targeting people who are interested in moving from paper to more of a digital side of things. So for someone who is interested in moving from paper to an app, then you can clearly see they're going to be interested in this post. So when you're creating your content, think about that. Social media is not just about waking up and deciding to post. We'll talk a bit about some of the things that you need to think about before you post, but basically that's what we have in mind. So right now, as you sit here, I want you to ask yourself, are there any brands that you've probably seen online that you think are doing a really good job when it comes to marketing? Please feel free to share in the chat. And think of the things I've said. Are they engaging people online? Are they getting people to interact with their posts in one way or another? And engagement could be different. It could be likes, comments, it could be shares. So I want you to think of any brand. It could even be your favorite brand. When I think of that, a brand that comes to mind in my head right now that I think is doing a really great job when it comes to marketing is KCB. KCB, I think on Fridays on their Facebook, they post memes. So they post funny memes related to banking, with an aim of getting you to relate to what they're saying. So when you think of KCB as a bank, when you think of them sharing memes, most people would be like, they're so serious. Why should they share memes? But when you go to their Facebook page, you realize that it's working for them. So maybe they'll share a meme like, tumefika kona ya mwezi, something like that, and tell people KCB has loans available for you. So they'll try to make something funny out of it and still plug themselves as the solution provider. So I'd like you to think of, things like that. Someone else in the chat has said Carrefour. We couldn't help but notice, definitely, especially when they were doing, I think they had this campaign where they were doing different products. And I remember they had one for fish, if I'm not wrong. And I was personally very shocked because I didn't know Carrefour sells fish. So that was quite interesting to sort of bump into. Someone else in the chat says KRA, absolutely smashing it. I definitely agree. Sometimes I see KRA posts and I stop getting annoyed at KRA because as a business owner, most of the time you want to run away from KRA. You're so angry with them, but they make your day bright. Sometimes when you look at the jokes that they post or how they put their post up, then you realize, wow, okay, there's something they're doing right here. We could talk about many brands, but at the end of the day, it's all about what makes you memorable. The same way you can remember that brand is the same way someone is sitting out there thinking of a person of influence. So say an influencer. And I have said a person of influence. An influencer is not necessarily someone who is famous. And I'm sure each of us here probably follow an influential person in one way or another. But the biggest question is, have they ever influenced you to buy a product or a service? That's when we know they are possibly able to influence you in one way or another. And influence could be because of various things, maybe based on who they are in the society, or based on what they know about the product or the service, and so on and so forth. So when you look at it like that, you realize that some of the people we've been calling influencers are actually not influencers. They're just famous people. I'm sorry if you found yourself in that box, but yes, they're just famous people that we thought, wow, they can actually influence people. So under this digital marketing umbrella, I've brought about influencers because the same way you want your brand to stand out on social media is the same way you would want an influencer to make your brand stand out. It's not just about them posting as well, but it's about them
the images that we put up in our headers on blow up.
Apologies for that.
It's a mess in terms of how it looks. A mess.
All right. Thank you. So yeah, it's all about ensuring that these people actually have your target audience in their following. And in addition to having your target audience, they can clearly relate your product to what their target audience actually wants. So maybe as we keep going, I'd love to know, are there any influencers that you follow, whether Kenyan, whether international? Share them in the chat. And have they ever influenced you? So maybe write the name of the influencer. If they've influenced you, say yes. If they haven't, maybe say no. If I think of an example myself, I follow an influencer called Patricia Kihoro. Yeah, I think that's how people know her. Yeah, so Patricia Kihoro, and I followed her for quite a while before she eventually converted me. And I remember initially, I didn't even know that she was influencing. So she was an influencer for Showmax. And initially, I didn't know that she was actually an influencer for Showmax. It always looked so natural, as if she was just using Showmax as a normal consumer. And that's what brought me in, because then, unlike other influencers who use products just because a client is paying them, she was actually relating the product to how she, can I say, uses it as an individual. And so it became so much easier for me to relate to it. And eventually, of course, after some time of following her, one of the shows that she was watching, she kept talking about it. And eventually I got convinced to watch that same show. And of course, that then made me pay for Showmax. I can see in the chat, someone has mentioned Yashinsky, has influenced them to buy phones. Really good. So thank you for that. And definitely there are many, many more. So as you think of your business, don't just pay an influencer because they have 1 million followers. Out of those 1 million followers, how many of them actually, fall within your target audience? And based on that, how can you work with this influencer to ensure that they market you the best when it comes to promoting your brand? So we've talked about social media marketing. We've talked about influencer marketing, which is closely related to the social media marketing as well. I can see in the chat, we have new responses. Someone has said Sharon Mwangi has influenced them to buy noodles. Very interesting. I also know someone else who has been influenced to buy noodles through her. I can see we have a question or a comment. Someone has said, does the influencer's goals align with the vision of your brand? Definitely true. So interesting thing to mention right now, because most times when people think of influencers, you don't think of the effect that it has on your brand. Most people just think about, I want to work with this person, but you need to think about all that. Does this person actually understand your brand? Do they relate to it? For me as a digital marketer, when I'm working with influencers, the main thing that I ask them is, I'm interested in working with you because of A, B, C, D. You've had my part. Why are you interested in working with this brand? So that also they can clearly tell me what actually interested them when it came to working with the brand that I'm talking about. So I'll switch off my video a bit. I've gotten an internet warning, but I'll keep talking. So when it comes to influencer marketing, it's all about trying to reach more people with an aim of ensuring that your audience can grow faster and that your brand can create more awareness. Is that the only way that you can do that? Not necessarily. You've had people talking about running paid ads. When it comes to paid ads, basically think of it like renting a space online to do an advertisement. So I'm sure some of us have bumped into posts on our social media pages that could have the word sponsored in just small letters. And I think I'll show you that in just a minute. So you'll realize that sometimes you'll bump into a post that looks like this. There we go. So under the name of the company, you'll see the word sponsored. So what does that mean? That Google and this company called Later have rented space on the different platforms. In this case, this was a Facebook screenshot. So they've rented a space on Facebook to run paid advertisements. And what that means is that they'll get that space for a couple of days and they'll get to run the specific ads there. So ads could be run on different platforms, not just Facebook, but you can also run ads on Instagram. You can also run ads on Facebook. Just 1 minute.
So I am back, Keegan, as Melanie is just working on something. Sorry, must be getting a cold. Pole sana. I just want to share my experience with the ads that currently on the screen. I have run a business before, and I've actually used to leverage this a lot. It was called, we used to call it boosting. So you'd boost the post to try and increase the reach, and we do this mainly on Facebook and on Instagram. So, and I know Melanie will be telling us more about that. So I had a good experience with it. It's actually the posts that what I used to post, and then I'd spend money on it, sort of like to boost the advertising. More people would see it, more people would see the products that we were selling, and then that would increase revenue for us. So that is one way of doing that. That's one of my experiences with this sponsored ads. Melanie, you're back? I can see in the chat we also have a question from Ramadan. Thank you so much for your question. What kind of return rate would you say the boosting had on sales? So for me personally, I think it depended with the amounts that we were using to sort of like boost. So for example, if because we're in the product that we are doing an FMCG product, we are selling diapers. So if we could spend from how we tracked, our sales increased by about 30%, and we were spending about 3,000 every 2 weeks on that. But Melanie, the expert, will tell us more about that. I see you're back. Karibu.
Thank you so much. I'm catching a cold. I was choking, but I'm back. Thank you for holding fort. So I definitely agree. Different people could get different returns based on the ads that you're running. It's dependent on a lot of things. We're going to talk about it in a bit. But the main thing it's dependent on is budget. How much are you spending? And I think Keegan has given a really good example. But in social media, the more you spend, the more results you get. Does that mean you should spend 1 million? Not necessarily. So we'll talk about budget in a few minutes. But budget is one of the things. Who are you targeting is another thing. So target audience is very important to understand. How does your ad look? So for example, what we have on this screen, is it attractive? Would it make you take an action? Maybe let's talk in the chat a little bit. If it will make you take an action, maybe say yes. If not, maybe say no. Let's do a quick, can I say, poll to see what people think. For me, I'm likely to convert to the Google one. What about you? Guys, let's talk. Which one would make you convert, Google or the later one? Great. Someone says maybe the Google one. The other one is not attractive. I feel the same way. I feel like they're shouting. It's too big for me. Anyone else? Let's hear from someone else. Anyone who'd convert from the later one? Amazing. I've gotten a DM. Someone else has said they'd convert on the later one, maybe if they just reduce the text a little bit. So I totally agree. We're going to be talking about that in a few minutes. But as you can see, different people relate to different ads in different ways. I even know people who, they don't interact with ads. So as soon as they see sponsored, they quickly swipe past it. So you also have to keep that in mind. What do you do with such a consumer? But we'll talk about it in a bit. I'll go back to my initial slide. Remember, we're talking about what falls under the digital marketing umbrella. So I've talked about digital advertising. Something else that falls there is email marketing. So when you think of email marketing, basically it's a type of marketing that happens on email. When we think about it from a digital marketing perspective, you do it on an email marketing platform where you'll be able to measure. So it's not just about sending the email, but it's about trying to understand how many people received the email, how many people opened it, maybe what time did they open it, what are their locations, and so on and so forth. So a good example of that is a tool called MailChimp. And I'll just type that in the chat. So MailChimp is an email marketing tool. If you're curious, check it out. Basically, all the things I've said. You're able to send an email, know how many people opened it, what time, what are their locations, and so on and so forth. So the beauty about that is you don't just send an email and you know how many people received it. It's not just about receiving our, what do we call it, a delivery, can I say prompt, but it's all about trying to understand what else can I get from this email. When you think about it like that, then it makes things easier because digital marketing is important because people can measure. It's not just about putting up a billboard, for example, and not knowing how many people saw it, how many people interacted, but we'd like to know much more. So to help you understand just a little bit around email marketing, I'll play a short video that will give us some insight around that, and then we can continue from there. So I'll stop share, then I'll reshare again with sound so that we can all hear. And please keep in mind, many companies think they're doing email marketing just because they're sending out an email, but that may not be the case. Email marketing is intentional, which you'll learn about from this short video.
What is email marketing? Put simply, it's when businesses use email to promote their product or service. But it's more than that. It's an exciting tool where you're communicating personally with customers, building trust and credibility with prospects, creating leads, and generating sales. Plus, giving customers an engaging experience. Take an email newsletter, for example. This allows you to provide updates and cool content directly into your customer's inbox. You can also send follow-up or thank you messages, nurture emails, and so much more. You don't need a big budget, and it works for businesses of any size. Anyone can do it. The return on investment can be massive. So, what's stopping you? You can even automate your email marketing so you can be working even when you're not in the office. Using an automation tool will allow you to be more effective with your marketing strategy, as you can engage with prospects and customers at the right time by sending them personalized, targeted emails based on their interactions with your company. ACT has everything you need to market like a pro, turn leads into sales, and win customers for life. Download our guide on marketing.
All right, so that video gives us a bit of insight around email marketing. It's all about building a relationship, almost the way I talked about friendship. It's not about meeting today and getting this or forcing this person to buy today, but you sort of grow that relationship. I like to think of email marketing in that way. I like to think of mobile marketing, which is also one of the things under the digital marketing umbrella in that way as well. Because today, the messages we receive from spam, most of the time we don't open them, especially the ones from loaning companies. Unless you need a loan, then you'll open. But most times you won't want to hear from them. Why? Because they've not invested in building a relationship. They just started with selling immediately. So when it comes to matters digital marketing, have relationship at the back of your mind. First impressions really matter. And that's why you find many people have to have a social media page. Some people decide to have a website because you want to be present online. And when you're present online, it's very helpful because then you're more findable. Many of us have heard of the term SEO, search engine optimization. What it basically means in summary is how findable you are when someone does a search for you online. Most of the time, how findable your website is. So are you going to come on the first page? Are you going to come on the last page of a Google search? And most times, people mostly click only on the first page of a Google search. Am I right? Maybe let me know. Does anyone here go past page 1 of a Google search? Maybe we can have some reactions, some thumbs ups. If you go past page 1, give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down on the reactions or in the chat. But most of the time, even according to research, people click on page 1 and only probably the first top 3 links. So if you have bad search engine optimization, and maybe your website does not appear on the first page at the very top, you'll find many people will not visit your website. I can see some thumbs ups. Anyone else? Is there anyone who moves to page 2 unless you're doing research? Nice, I can see some interaction in the chat, great. So it's very important to understand that we may not be able to go very deep into search engine optimization, but that's the simplest example I can give you to think of in terms of how findable are you when someone does a search for you. So either based on the name of your company, your name if you're the brand, or even based on a common search. Maybe today, if people search for digital marketing agencies in Kenya, will Digipath, my company, appear? That's a good question. If we appear, that means our SEO is doing very well. So I'd like you to think of that as you think of your business. What platforms are you present on? Why are you present on them? And where do you appear? Very, very important. I think I saw a question in the chat. Let me just check. Great. So I think it's more of a comment. Someone said, understanding the goal for boosting, is it to increase audience or to increase the sale of products? We are getting to that just now. Someone else has said, I always go to page 4. Wow, that's interesting. Ramathan, I don't know if you're able to unmute, but it would be interesting to know, do you go to page 4 when doing research, or is it on a normal?
It's just a thing. I like number 4. So I think the results on page 4 are better than those on page 1.
Nice, very interesting. But I totally agree. Sometimes there are nice hidden gems behind the scenes. I know when I'm doing research, sometimes I bump into very good things, even on page 10. And sometimes you're like, why were the other websites on page 1? So it doesn't necessarily mean that if your website is not on page 1, your content is bad for humans. It just means it's bad for the search engine. The search engine is looking for certain keywords for it to be able to know who should we show this website and is it actually relevant to them. Same way when it comes to, for those of us who use TikTok. If you're active on TikTok, you'll realize that you get videos based on things you probably watch a lot or things you search a lot. And that should show you why video marketing, which is another category under the umbrella, is very important. Simply because people are growing towards interacting with video because most of these algorithms are now suggesting what they should see. I wish search engine could work like that, you know, so that I see more of what I'm likely to like rather than, you know, what the search engine likes. But unfortunately, that's how search engine marketing works. So as you can see, digital marketing contains a lot. And do you have to utilize all of those channels? No, there are many. You have to go a step at a time to figure out one, out of all these channels, is my target audience on those platforms? If yes, you can start utilizing some. Why do I say some? Because you want to know, when I post on Instagram, I get more sales as compared to when I post on Facebook, for example. Or if I do email marketing, For example, that works better than if I do something else. So don't just run and implement everything. Don't just join all social media platforms because your competitors are on all social media platforms. It's important to ask yourself, is my target audience there? And that's why I was saying, let's wake up and post. We come up with a strategy. In simple terms, we ask ourselves, who is our target audience? What is our goal? How are we going to achieve that goal that we're talking about? We have to think of things like this target audience, are they on that platform? What content do they interact with the most? So that we know, do we do more videos? Do we do more images? And so on and so forth. Sometimes you even have to go deeper and understand what time are they online, so that you ask yourself, do I post now? Do I post later? It's very important for you to understand all that. So, of course, when you think about all that, then everything you create becomes very meaningful because you're creating with the customer in mind. You're creating what the customer wants. It's not about your business, sorry to say, but it's more of, is what you're putting up relatable to your target audience? So as you think of content, ask yourself that, yes, you're trying to sell, but is that information your customer wants to know? Can you have a distribution of posts, some that excite, some that engage, some that educate, some that entertain, maybe some that inspire? Have a mix so that when someone is interacting with your post, they have different things to look forward to ensure that they're actually making the best out of your content. When this content is doing really well, what do I mean doing really well? Getting engagement. People are liking, people are commenting, people are sharing. Or maybe if you have a specific post that you want to reach more people, then you can think of doing ads, which we've just talked about in a bit. So when you do ads, someone has asked a very good question. They'd like to understand the goal of boosting or running ads. Is it to increase audience? Is it to increase the sale of products? So when you're running ads, there's a process to it. And part of that process involves coming up with a goal. So what are you trying to achieve? It's very important for you to understand that. Why? Because on every platform, I think the first question they'll ask you, the first step after you decide what you want to run as an ad, is specifically what goal are you trying to achieve? So depending on the platform that you're running the ad on, you realize some platforms have many goals, others have fewer goals. So maybe for purposes of just demonstration, allow me to share my screen and show you what you'd see if you were running a Twitter ad. They'd ask you to choose an objective, which is what we're calling our goal. So you'll see my screen in a minute. There we go. So do you want more people to engage with your tweets? Do you want more people to watch your videos, more website clicks, more videos, more app installs, more app re-engagement? So depending on the goal you want to achieve, you need to choose something that is close to these goals. Remember, you can only choose one goal for an ad. So once you choose that goal, that's what they're going to be measuring. That's what the ad is going to be trying to perform. So if you want followers, some platforms have a button for followers. If you want profile visits, others have a button for profile visits. So it's very important to choose that. In addition to goals, when you're running an ad, what else do you have to keep in mind? They'll ask you to choose your target audience. Who are you targeting in terms of gender, in terms of age, in terms of interest? Maybe I want to just target people interested in digital marketing, people interested in real estate. I can do that as well. So keeping all that in mind, then you have to have those correct by the time you're putting your budget. Most of these platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google, they allow you to run an advert for as low as $1 a day. Does that mean that's what you should spend? No. Remember, the higher you go, the more results you get. But minimum for your ad to run is $1 on those platforms. LinkedIn, I think the minimum is $10. It's a bit more expensive and doesn't have as many people as this other platform. So you'll realize your performance may not be as high as the one on Facebook. So as you're choosing your budget, have that in mind, have the minimum base in mind, because then from there, you're able to say, maybe let's try 3,000 bob for this month, and we distribute it and see how many days can we get with the thinking of $1 a day to ensure that we still get value from our ads. When it comes to these same ads, most of the time I tell people you have two ways to run ads. You can either one, base it on maybe a best performing post. So you have this post, it's gotten many likes or comments or shares, and you think maybe I should run it as an ad. People are relating to it. Or you could be launching a new product or service and you decide, instead of waiting for it to perform, let me run it as an ad. Let me see what my target audience will think. That's also another way. So as you think of ads, and I hope that answers you, Momani, based on your questions, goals could be different. But based on those goals, you're also able to select that. I can see another question in the chat on my DM. How do you know your target audience? If you're a personal brand experimenting with different types of content. Wait, how to know your target audience if you're a personal brand? Okay, so I think in terms of knowing your target audience, one could be based solely on assumption, based on who are you creating for. That could be the first approach. But the second approach could be based on reports. So most of these platforms, even if you're on a personal brand profile, you can register to get a professional account. So for example, Instagram, if today you just went on Instagram and Googled how to change my personal Instagram to a professional account, they'll give you a step-by-step guide and you get access to reports. Reports is the last thing I'll talk about as we wind up. Very, very important. Simply because with reports, you're not just able to know how your post is performing, but you're also able to know who is your target audience based on the different reports that you can see. So depending on the platform that you're sort of interacting with, you may realize that you get to see, can I say, different types of reports. So on Instagram, for example, you realize that when it comes to your report, you get to see gender. When it comes to the audience reporting, you get to see gender, you get to see age, you get to see locations as well. I'll share my screen in a minute for you to see. But in addition to that, of course, you get the usual performance of the posts. If it comes to Facebook, you get a summary performance over period A to Z. How have your posts been performing overall? You get a general overview. If it's a platform like LinkedIn, in addition to the post reports, you also get reports around who is interacting the most with my content in terms of industry. Is it maybe people in the marketing industry? Is it people maybe in the finance industry? You get to see all of that. So maybe just to give you a highlight, I'll share my screen. I have a sample report from a client that done, just to give you a general idea of some of the things I'm saying as we close on reporting. So this on my screen, you'll see in a minute, is a report that you can see from LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, other than, of course, my post had 2 likes, 2 comments, and all that, you get to see which people from which industries are interacting with your content the most. So for this specific client, you can see most of the people who are interacting with their content are software developers, people in retail, people in IT, advertising, etc. So this makes it easy for you to know what kind of content can I create to target these people, and what kind of people can I actually target if you had not thought about targeting them as a business. If we go to a platform like Facebook, you get a sort of report like this. So if your pages are connected, you'll get a Facebook report on the left, Instagram report on the right. Basically a summary over period A to B. What was your reach in terms of how many people saw your post, and so on and so forth. But for Instagram, what I was saying just a few minutes ago is when it comes to reports, other than, my post got this number of likes, you can see different things. I'll start on my extreme left. You can see a breakdown of your followers in terms of the cities they're in. So are they in Nairobi? Are they in Mombasa, etc.? You can also get a breakdown of age. So who are the people following me? So that could also help you understand your audience if you don't know. So in case you're on a personal account, please transition into a business one to see what you can get. If you come to my extreme right, you can also see we get reports on gender, and we also get reports on most active times. When do people interact with my content the most? So you don't have to struggle to figure out when do I post, when are people most likely to interact. You don't have to disturb yourself with all that. There are reports for that. So that's just a bit of a taste or teaser when it comes to, can I say, reporting. At this point, I'd love to open the floor for our Q&A. Happy to answer any questions that are there. I've seen a few coming in the chat, so maybe I'll start with those ones. For anyone who'd like to unmute, please raise your hand. Then we can tackle those questions as we go by. For those who have stayed till this far, thank you so much. I have a gift for you coming soon, but we'll first tackle the questions.
Melanie, just allow me to go first, and let me mention something interesting. So, as at the Chamber of Commerce, we have our members are more than 2 million, directly and indirectly, and we interact with businesses every day. And in my conversations with these businesses, the businesses that I see doing really well are those that have embraced digital marketing. There is that traditional marketing of Gazzetti, and giving people flyers and everything. It still works to an extent. But the ones that I see doing really, really well, the ones that I see growing across all sectors are the ones that have embraced digital marketing. So the amazing things that we've had today about email marketing, about social media, and how to target audiences, businesses that are doing well are the ones that are embracing that. My question is just one. So as a business person who I have a lot of things that I'm doing, I have to go and chase sales, and I have these targets that I am doing. And I'm hearing about this digital marketing, and it's really amazing and it's really good. And I'm wondering, can DigiPath support me on this side so that I'm able to focus on other things?
Amazing. Thank you for that. So definitely as a business owner, we have a lot we are doing. Good job to all of us, first of all. Yes, DigiPath can definitely support you in different ways. One of the things that I tell people is sometimes we may be offering fewer services than you may want. But maybe just to give a brief run through, DigiPath can support you in different ways. The first way that we support people, and majorly, specifically small businesses, is through having a consultation call. Sometimes with the business owners that we sort of talk to, you realize that I know what I can do, I just don't know how to do it. So we offer a consultation call, but in addition to that, we also have others who engage us in different ways. So some of it could include, maybe you just want someone to have a look at your pages and audit them to tell you what's working, what is not, how can you improve. Sometimes maybe you just like someone to do a strategy for you, give you a bigger picture of the map and how you should do it. Sometimes you need someone to do the actual implementation. So managing the page and so on and so forth, definitely something we do. So one of the things I'm going to share in the chat is a link to our company profile. I'll do that first. And yeah, for those of you who can access the link, please do so. If not, I think that can be shared maybe after this session, and you'll get to access that. And why am I sharing this? So that you can get, what can I call it? A general idea of what we have to offer, as DigiPath. I think that will give you a good picture. But in addition to that, I'll also share a link to our direct form. For those of you who feel like I'm ready, I need to take action now. I'll share that link as well. Why do I do that? Because sometimes you could have had what you've had during this session, and you decide that you're actually ready to take action. So instead of taking you through a longer journey, I can also share that from the chat. So I've shared the company profile. I'm sharing the initial conversation form in the chat. So in case you're interested, you can also fill that up, and then we can talk on that other side. But definitely happy to support. So I've shared both of those. Thank you, Keegan, for the questions. I can see another question came in. Someone is asking, in email marketing, how do you get past your email being blocked or being unverified? Great. Sometimes very difficult, especially with corporate emails. I know, for example, if you send email marketing emails to an employee of Safaricom, they'll not get through. So sometimes organizations have set them up in that way that you can totally do nothing about it. So the trick that I usually give people is, when you're asking people to sign up for your email list, give them good reasons as to why they should sign up. Don't just tell people sign up to receive our emails or our newsletter. Tell them or give them an idea of what to expect to receive in your emails. In addition to that, tell them to sign up with an email that they probably frequently open, so that they don't miss out. But if they give you an email they frequently open, please don't become a spammer. You need to decide how often you're going to send your emails. I think once a week, once in 2 weeks is pretty good, especially if you have really, really good content you're sharing out. So that's a way that you can get through it. Another question, what are some best practices for when creating an online presence for the first time for a small local business that has no previous digital marketing experience? One, figure out where is your target audience, especially when it comes to social media. Which pages do you need to open based on where they are? So if they're on Instagram, open an Instagram. Do the usual setup, have a profile picture, have a bio, basically what people see for the first time. Make your first impression worth it. But in addition to that, you need to start with an introduction. People don't know who you are. So you need to introduce yourself and your brand in terms of getting people to know more about who you are, what you do. Then you can start creating your content going forward. So take it like meeting someone for the first time. Take those same steps online. Someone else is asking, the bigger question for today is SEO, how to get started, get by it, to exemplary performance for client demands. Trick to SEO, you need to decide, what do you want to be visible when someone searches for the name of your company or for the products or services that you're offering? Do you want your social media pages to appear first? Of course, that means you'll be more active on social media. Do you want your website to appear first? Most of the time with SEO, people want their website to appear first. If it's your website, you have to ensure that the wordings on your website are in line with SEO. So what are people most likely to search? If I'm searching for digital marketing resources, the SEO algorithm is going to look at the name on my website. So my website is digipathafrica.com. Maybe if I have /digital marketing resources, Google is going to look at that link. It's going to look at the images on my website. How are they named? So if you have a developer who's done your website, please make sure they don't name your images 123.png. They can name them digital marketing resources.png, maybe financial services.png. You know, be intentional about how you're naming your images, your videos, your links, the titles to your pages as well. Be intentional about that. I would say that's the first step to start with the SEO, to ensure that when the algorithm is looking at those things, it's able to ensure to find those. Then based on all that, after you've done all that, bring traffic to your page. Any opportunity you get to share your website, please share it. Shout about it. Nobody is stopping you. The more traffic you get, the more intentional the search engine is going to get about your website, and it's going to feel like maybe more people need to see this website. So maybe it needs to rank higher. Key thing to remember, SEO is not a one-day thing, not a one-week thing. It takes time. So as you keep editing, give it time, give the algorithm time to learn your website. Another question, are there ways you help boost us in the digital marketing as educators for my business? I'm not sure if you mean through resources, but yes, I'll be sharing that as a goodie towards the end. Maybe for that person who asked that question, do you mind unmuting and maybe clarifying if that's what you meant? Samsung SM something. Would you like to clarify your question? Was it resources you were looking for educators, or what were you looking for? When you're ready, maybe just raise your hand and then I'll get to you. Then we have from Valerie, how do you get your audience to adhere to your call to action even after the open rate is fair? Good question. When it comes to call to actions on emails, we don't just want people to read our email, but if we've asked them to register for something, we want them to actually do that. Test out different call to actions. That's the first thing I would say. So maybe register here, book your spot here, click here to not miss out, click here to learn more, you know, get people to feel like they have to click. In addition to that, test out the different positions for your call to action. Maybe instead of having it towards the very end, maybe have one at the center, have one at the end. I think those are the two main tips I would give. I have one again, how to create content for yourself as a digital marketer who works in a digital marketing agency and wants to grow their brand and teach people the same, but the agency doesn't allow you to create content around their gigs, but you're still always at work. I love that question. I think you can make it hypothetical. When I'm teaching, I like to use a lot of brand X. So brand X to represent whatever company. You can do that and base it on, it's your company. So you can tell a hypothetical story in terms of your content to make people relate to it. I don't know if I have an example, but maybe you can follow me on LinkedIn and see some of the posts I have there. I think I've done a few hypothetical ones. I'm not sure, but I think I have. I'll share the link in the chat just shortly, but yeah, you can just search for my name, Melanie Hapisu. If you want to follow me, just Google me, Melanie Hapisu Wambogo. You'll find all information about me. And I think that's another thing. You guys need to ask yourself, when people search for you or your company, what do they find? And do you like what they see? Very important for you to understand that. I think a final question we have in the chat, other than ChatGPT, is there any chat box that helps in generating captions for social media? There are quite many. I use ChatGPT a lot. I know there's one built within a browser, not a browser, what do you call it? A search engine called Bing, I think, or it's under Microsoft Edge. There's one called Google Bard. I don't know if they changed it to Google Gemini, but I think there's that as well. So for me, those are the ones I actively use because of, what do we call it? Their accuracy. So maybe search for, I'll post them in the chat, Google Bard or Google, or something like Gemini. I think they've transitioned their name. Someone else has said Copilot. I mean, let's give suggestions. I've given the ones that I use. In addition to that, most platforms nowadays have inbuilt AI in them. So LinkedIn, for example, can allow you to write a caption within LinkedIn using AI. So maybe that's another area that you can look at. So thank you so much for your questions. I think I'll stop the Q&A there. Maybe as a final thing, thank you so much for staying to the end. I have a wonderful database of great gifts for all of us. So I'll be pasting a link in the chat just now. If you follow this link, you get access to different things. I know all of us are curious to learn and do all of that. So the first thing you'll get on this link is you'll be able to sign up for some free webinars that I have, as well as access past recordings. You get to get the form that I shared in the chat for us to work together. You get to see testimonials. You also get to sign up for my masterclass. So in case you want to learn more, see me behind the tent. But lastly, you'll also get to join my WhatsApp group where we have amazing conversations when it comes to digital marketing. So for those of you who stayed to the end, that is my wonderful gift to you of free and paid resources. So feel free to access whichever one is relevant for you. I am pasting the link on the chat just now, and you're going to have it just now. Great, there we go. So if you click on that hyperlink with my name, Namloani, Linktree, you'll get to access that. All the best in your learning. I am looking forward to, seeing what you're going to do out of this webinar. I know the time was short, but we've tried to make the best out of it. Final question we have before I hand it over to Keegan. Someone is asking, is SMS marketing part of digital marketing? Yes, it's what we were calling mobile marketing. The messages you receive from your Safaricom's, the notifications you get in your mobile apps from Uber, for example, that's an example. So over to you, Keegan. Over to you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for the lovely comments in the chat. Thank you, Keegan.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Really appreciate the training, and thank you so much to all who have attended, our members, our non-members. We really appreciate your attendance. And so sorry about starting late. We were migrating our platform, but now we have gotten to understand it well. So I know we've gone 17 minutes past that time, but thank you so much. I want to appreciate you. So look out we'll be sending out an email to you with suggestions on the training topics that you'd like to see from the Chamber of Commerce. Also, a thank you email for you attending this session. Feel free to reach out to me on any issue, on any advocacy matter, on issues, trade development at the Chamber of Commerce. We are here to help you, and as our tagline says, growing your business together. As I said at the start of the call, this is going to be a series of trainings, and we'll be doing them on Thursdays on a skip a week basis. So the next one is going to be on 9th. Potentially, it's going to be on how to export. We've been getting a lot of questions from businesses, wherever you are in the country, you're looking to export because you see all businesses in all sectors, you see, people taking their products outside the country. So we'll be taking you through how is that process? What are the requirements? What do you need? What documentations do you need? So look out for more communication on that. Watch our social media channels. More information will be coming out on that. Thank you so much for making time. And as always, in case of anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you. Bye.